Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Susan Shanna with Emory University. We're going to go ahead and get started. This morning, we are joined by two of the PIs from our Moderna trial. We have with us Dr. Nadine Raphael. She is the director of the Hope Clinic of the Emory Vaccine Center and the associate professor of infectious diseases at Emory University School of Medicine. And as I mentioned, she is the contact principal investigator for our vaccine treatment evaluation unit where the Moderna vaccine clinical trial is being conducted. We're also joined by our co-PI, Dr. Colleen Kelly. She is our associate professor of medicine at Emory University School of Medicine. Just as a reminder, please keep your systems on mute, as many of our broadcast outlets do use this for broadcast. We'd also like to remind you to go ahead and enter any questions that you have into the chat function. We will take those questions immediately following. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Kelly.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. This is a great day for science and a great day for hope that we will see the end of the COVID pandemic. Emory has made great contributions to the Moderna vaccine trial. We had 3 sites that were enrolling. We enrolled over 700 participants into the study. And so we're very proud. Our teams have been working very hard and are very proud of the momentous work that we have done on this very historic day. So it's very exciting for all of us, and thanks so much for joining us.
All right, Dr. Raphael.
Yes, thank you. It's indeed an extremely exciting day for science. It's a very hopeful day for vaccines. To hear last week that the Pfizer trial was 90% effective, and then today that the Moderna phase 3 trial is equally effective is very gratifying. The Moderna trial, as Colleen had mentioned, Emory was a big contributor in the number of cases, number of subjects, the diversity that we brought to the table as well. And then also because Emory was part of the phase 1 trial in addition to the efficacy trial.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead. If one of you could go ahead and just provide some additional background on the trial, and then we'll hold for any questions that we might have.
Sure. As you all know, the results that were just released this morning were for the phase 3 efficacy trial. This is a new vaccine product. It's similar to the Pfizer vaccine. It's a messenger RNA vaccine. These two are the first to reach phase 3 efficacy trials. Dr. Raphael and Dr. Evan Anderson led the phase 1 vaccine trials of this product earlier this year at Emory, and now these are the efficacy results. So over 30,000 people were enrolled across the US. It was approximately 100 sites. And as I said, approximately 700 were enrolled here at Emory at our 3 sites at Grady, at the Hope Clinic, and the Emory Children's Center under the leadership of Evan Anderson at the Children's Center. We contributed greatly to the diversity of the trial. As you all may have seen, a lot of focus was placed on ensuring that the trial participants were representative of those in the US and those that are most likely to benefit, including Black and Latinx populations. And here at Emory, we contributed greatly to succeeding and reaching those diversity goals. As Dr. Raphael mentioned, the press release this morning reports 94.5% efficacy, which is better than we ever could have hoped for, with only mild to moderate side effects. Now the trial will continue to collect safety and efficacy data. The company has stated that they anticipate submitting for an EUA to the FDA in the next few weeks, and hopefully to have vaccine available by the end of the year. I'll let Dr. Raphael add any other background information.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kelly. It had moved at a record speed. From the time of sequencing to when the vaccine product was available. It was only 42 days from the time that the virus was sequenced to starting the phase 1 trial. It was only 62 days. So this is an astonishing speed for vaccine. Not only it's fast, we know now that it's working in this early look at the data as far as safety and efficacy. The phase 3 trial started on July 27 nationwide. Here at Emory, it started on August 11, and it concluded on October 23rd, again, with the very promising results that we're seeing right now. We're happy to take any questions.
Yes, thank you to you both. Let's go right in. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Okay, let's go to the first question. Let's go to Dr. Kelly for this one. We'll start, and each of you can go back and forth and add whatever you would like. These results are very preliminary and haven't been peer reviewed. What do you make of that? How long before a vaccine would be widely available to the general public? What are the challenges to getting that vaccine rolled out?
Yes, absolutely. In true kind of 2020 COVID form, we are learning about science on social media and press releases when we are accustomed to peer-reviewed data. So absolutely, we still do need to evaluate the full data of the trial, including the safety reports to determine the real outcomes of the trial. That said, I think that we do have a lot of confidence in the conduct of the trial, both the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 conduct. And so I'm confident that these results will bear out with respect to efficacy, and time will tell, and the additional data and the additional peer review will bear out the rest of those results that we are so anxiously awaiting. That said, I think the headline of the efficacy results, I do have confidence that that is accurate. These results have been reviewed by a data safety monitoring board, typical to all clinical trials. The conduct of this trial was, in accord with all other kind of federal guidelines that are typically followed in this situation. And so I do feel confidence in the efficacy results, but absolutely wait for the rest of the data that will be peer reviewed, certainly as it unfolds.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Has been widely reported, these COVID vaccines have come in record time. It leads a lot of people to believe that side effects or other impacts of the vaccine aren't widely explored and therefore potentially unsafe. What would you say to people who are concerned about the safety of these COVID vaccines? Dr. Rofial, would you like to answer this one? We may have lost her, Dr. Kelly. Why don't you take it?
Yeah, sure. And I mean, that is absolutely the case. The rapidity in the clinical trials for these COVID vaccines is nothing we've ever seen before. But that is because the amount of effort and resources that has been poured into this effort is really unfathomable. No steps in the regular sequence of vaccine development or product development have been skipped. Instead, the steps of product development, in this case vaccine development, were performed in series as opposed to, or were performed in parallel as opposed to typically they're performed in series. And that is how we so quickly came to these results. We will know the full side effect profile for the 30,000 people that participated in the trial. That will be coming forth, I'm sure, and with that peer review data that we're waiting on. That will help us to communicate to communities and to people the safety of the vaccine in addition to the efficacy results that we've just seen. But yes, I think now we have a lot of work to do. Now we have a lot of work to do to convince people that the vaccine is safe, assuming that it's efficacious, and that they should get it, and they should encourage their family members and their friends to get it as well. And so that's the next frontier, I think, and that's rightly highlighted at this point in time.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. We're going to go on. We have some connection issues with Dr. Rofial that we're working out. We'll proceed through the questions. Next question, are we putting too much faith in vaccines to end the pandemic? What is the value of non-pharmaceutical interventions until a vaccine is widely available?
There is tremendous value in non-pharmaceutical interventions, and I think you mean things like masking and physical distancing and avoiding crowds, staying away from people, quarantining and isolating if you're sick or if you're in contact with someone who's had COVID disease. Yes, those are still the most important things that we can do on a daily basis. However, we will not see the other side of this pandemic without an effective vaccine and without effective vaccines, most likely, multiple vaccines. And so while masking, physical distancing, staying in when you're ill, staying away from others if you've had contact with someone who's had COVID are the only thing that we can do today and next week and the week after that to reduce COVID rates and reduce our own risk of infection. A vaccine was what will see the other side of this pandemic globally. And so both are very important to pursue.
Next question. Are you able to tell us what the 94% efficacy means exactly? Effective at preventing what? Mild disease, severe disease, hospitalization? Any additional information would help.
Yes, absolutely. So the primary outcome, which is what the DSMB evaluated in their interim analysis, was for symptomatic confirmed COVID disease. And so we will find out more in the coming days. And actually in the press release, it does tell you how many people had mild versus severe disease. I believe it was 11 people ended up with severe COVID disease. All of those were in the placebo arm of the trial. But we will see more breakdown of that as the data becomes available. But yes, the primary outcome was symptomatic. So confirmed COVID disease is that 94.5% efficacy estimate.
Next question. When will Georgia get the vaccine? How will it be distributed? Who will have access?
I can't speculate any specific time, but HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, has been collaborating with the states and the state health departments to create a deployment plan for the vaccine. All we know at this point in time is that both Pfizer and Moderna are anticipating submitting emergency use authorizations to FDA within the next couple of weeks, and both are prepared to ship some vaccine dose by the end of the year. And beyond that, we will have to leave that up to our public health departments and HHS to determine further distribution plans.
Excellent. I don't know, I think we might have Dr. Raphael back.
Oh, good.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had some technical difficulties. I apologize.
Okay, then I'll put this question out. Not sure who is best to answer it, but will this vaccine be available for use in children?
Dr. Anderson would have been the best person to answer that. Currently, the Moderna vaccine in the phase 3 trial had only tested adults. There are plans in general for vaccine to be tested in kids. However, those trials will not start until 2021.
Great, thank you. Let's go to the next question. Were there any major differences in how older those over 60 trial participants fared in the study in comparison to younger participants?
At this point in time, all we know is the breakdown of the cases of COVID-19 and that some did occur among those over age 65 in the placebo arm, but that's all that we can comment at this point in time. Dr. Raphael has been involved in some of the earlier phase trials where they did compare immune responses amongst those over age 65, and I'll let her comment on those.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kelly. I mean, again, this is an early look at the data. We know that many people at the age of 65 and above were enrolled in this trial, and we've seen also some cases occurring in this particular population. The phase 1 trial looked at the amount and the quality of antibody that are made in people that were 56 to 70 and 71 and above, and had showed, though the sample size is small, that the antibody results were similar to those that were younger. So this is promising to believe that hopefully the efficacy, which is the phase 3 trial is looking at, is also promising as well.
Great, next question. Dr. Raphael, these results based on info from Moderna are from fewer than 100 cases of COVID-19 among trial volunteers. Can you comment on the sample size here? It seems very small to be generalizable to a large population.
Yes, thank you. So this is a good question. The study had planned ahead how many cases will be needed to be able to take a preliminary look at the efficacy. And actually that number of cases that they have found and reported through the DSMB was higher than what they expected to be able to take a look at the first interim results. So they don't sound like a lot. It's actually quite a bit for the efficacy trial. And there will be more that will accumulate over time.
Great, thank you. Dr. Kelly, what was your initial reaction this morning when you heard the 94.5% rate?
Relief, excitement, hope. Really, just our teams have been working incredibly hard to make this happen in the setting of a global pandemic. And so this is really, really sweet. And it's sweet for science overall, as there's been so much uncertainty in the last year. And so this was just a fantastic day for all of us.
Dr. Rufial?
Yes, so I woke up early today. I was checking. We were hearing that the DSMB had met over the weekend, but I did not have any results from the meeting. And I got a text from my division director. She said the results will be out. I recall that last week we were also very thrilled to see how well the Pfizer vaccine had worked, but I thought the 90% efficacy bar is a hard one to beat. So I was really glad that with a similar insert, though the vaccines are slightly different, that it did yield to similar results. That really says science works, and then nothing can be done without a clinical trial operation, without the community engagement, without the participants that had been part of the trial. I have told my oldest son about the test result. I know in particular he had been quite worried about the pandemic and the fact that he could transmit the virus to others. He's somebody who is a bit needle phobic, so takes his vaccines all the time. He said, "When can I get it? I'm excited that the results are so promising." And I really hope that many people will get it. I mean, one issue for a vaccine that worked that well, if few people will get it, then it's kind of losing the purpose. Vaccine in a vial is 0% effective. So we really need to make sure that the American public or the global population at large will be willing to take the vaccine.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Kelly, does this vaccine require ultra-cold storage? How will that affect distribution?
Yeah, in contrast to the Pfizer vaccine, this vaccine is stable at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, so refrigerator for up to 30 days is what the manufacturer has stated. So some of those cold chain storage issues that people have brought up with the Pfizer vaccine that requires -70 storage, which is ultra cold storage, could be alleviated by this vaccine, but still does require some period of time in cold storage, but this is good news for places that may not have access to that ultra cold storage.
Can you tell us, Dr. Rafael, can you tell us about the enrollment here in the Atlanta area or in Georgia? How many people asked to enroll? What was your breakdown in terms of racial and ethnic minorities? How does the enrollment pattern hint at the potential uptake of the vaccine by the public?
Yeah, I mean, we were really blessed to have the community and the participants that were part of the trial really behind the team, really behind the trials. We had close to 700 participants, as Dr. Kelly mentioned. We had a lot of people from underrepresented minority sign up. We had more people that wanted to be in the trial than we had availability. I also understand that beyond the 3 sites at Emory, there were additional sites in Atlanta offering this vaccine. I mean, I also want to mention that we need more than 2 vaccines that work. For most of the vaccines are given in 2 doses. We have 7 billion people. We need 14 billion doses of vaccine. So it's still important to try to find other vaccine candidates that will yield to the same promising safety and efficacy results. So I still encourage a lot of people to participate in clinical trials if they can.
Excellent, thank you. Let's go to Dr. Kelly. Can you talk about the emergency use authorization process? Can people have faith in a vaccine that's authorized for emergency use versus the normal FDA approval process?
Yes, I mean, I do think there is a lot of uncertainty these days around this emergency use authorization process. We've seen it, be politicized and used in cases where, some have questioned whether it should have been used or not. And some states have actually said that they will review the data on their own before they approve it for use in their own state. So there is a little bit of uncertainty around this. So I would say look to medical experts, look to scientists, and if they are saying that, this is a good idea, get the vaccine, I trust this emergency use authorization, then that is what I would follow. There's also the Infectious Disease Society of America and other places that will release kind of statements in support for these emergency use authorizations. So I think if the scientists are saying, yes, it's safe, and I trust in the safety data once we see it, because we here at Emory have contributed directly to that safety data. We've seen participants get the vaccine or placebo. We don't know which one yet, of course. And so, we will trust those data when they come, but I understand the uncertainty around the EUA process.
Great, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up with this final question. I'm not sure who's best to answer this one. I'll just put it out there. Do you have any idea what might happen to the placebo groups in the trial now? Will they be offered the vaccine?
That is still up for discussion at this point in time, and I think a lot will depend on what the EUA is approved for, if the EUA is approved for all populations or specific populations. Once there is an EUA, though, the vaccine trials will not prevent people who are eligible for the vaccine from getting the vaccine, but exactly how that works for all of our placebo participants is yet to be determined and is under much discussion. We want the very best for our research trial participants. They have really been altruistic and really giving to come and participate in these trials during a pandemic when there's so much fear and uncertainty out there. We want the very best for them, and we certainly would not prevent them from getting a vaccine when it's available to them. But exactly how that's going to happen is still under discussion, and I'm not sure if Dr. Rufael has additional comments about that.
No, thank you, Dr. Kelly. I think you said it very well. We are very much in the middle of that discussion. I mean, one point to mention is for a EUA to be obtained, that it should be at least 2 months of median follow-up. So we're not at that stage either for the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine. So we need to accumulate a little bit more data about the safety to be able to proceed with that. As far as what will happen to the participant that received placebo, yes, we really hope that they will be offered the vaccine. Exactly how will this happen? We will know much more in the upcoming weeks.
Great, thank you. As I said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up there. Dr. Kelly, any final commentary you'd like to share?
No, thank you. I mean, I think you all have identified in your questions, once we have effective vaccines, now the next frontier will be assuring people that they are safe and efficacious, and ensuring that everyone has access to get them, and that enough people get the vaccine so that we can stem the rate of new infections in COVID-19. In the meantime, though, those non-pharmacologic interventions, wear a mask, physically distance, avoid crowds, that is the only thing we can do at this point in time to protect ourselves, our family members, and our communities, our hospitals, and our healthcare workers from this horrible pandemic that has really changed the course of history.
Great, thank you very much. Dr. Rufael?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this has been the worst week as far as coronavirus for the US and the world. We had in less than a week 1 million new cases. I'm currently rounding in the hospital and seeing the impact of of the pandemic and how it's affecting our community. So this is a very hopeful message. This is an early message, so we're still waiting for more information, for more candidates, vaccines availability, and results. And then we really hope to build on that momentum. Between now and then, of course, there are the other measures that Dr. Kelly had mentioned that are absolutely essential. It could be that this year we could not gather with our family and friends, but I mean, hopefully that will happen soon with really the dramatic effect that vaccines are showing just in the past week.
Great. Thank you very much to you both. Appreciate the quick turn and making yourselves available for this important announcement today.